Welcome to another episode of Cannabis Health Radio. I'm Ian Jessup.
And I'm Corey Elland.
Our guest today was on a lot of pharmaceuticals and muscle relaxants to get her through the pain from a very serious back problem. Thanks to cannabis oil, she is now off all her painkillers. And joining us from Florida is Sue Pier. Sue, good of you to do this. Thanks very much.
Hey, glad to be here.
How did you injure your back?
You know, I don't even have a good story. I literally woke up with it one morning. The best that the doctors and I were able to determine was I had just had a surgery for my right rotator cuff about a week previous. And when you're recovering from that, you have to, when you sleep, you have to be sort of elevated and then rolled away from the affected shoulder. So I was basically sleeping with some pressure on my left hip. Now, I was an x-ray tech and a memo tech for years and years and did a lot of nights. So I did a lot of moving my own patients and stuff. It's a physical job. You know, the best that we can think of is it just sort of, it might have been weakened already, may not, you know, we don't even know. And I just woke up with it that morning. I had a horrible pain really deep in my left hip. And I went to, I'm a martial artist, and I figured, okay, I can run this off at the track. It's probably, you know, muscle spasm. So took my sling and my arm and everything to the track and, you know, did some running, walking kind of thing. And when I went to stretch, I kind of did a straddle stretch, and I looked down to my left, towards my left leg, and saw my left ankle was crumpled, but I couldn't feel it. And I was, you know, that's not good. So, you know, brought it immediately to the doctor and had foot drop, and they were going to do, you know, they were talking emergency back surgery. And I said, well, we have to try something first because I'm not going straight to that if I can help it. So they did cortisone injections around my spine, and we did three rounds of that. I was driving to Miami from Fort Lauderdale for those. And they said if that didn't work, I had to have the surgery. Well, that did take down the swelling enough to stop making everybody scared. But it still left me with, you know, the damage. So that's kind of how it came about.
Who said it wasn't a good story? That's a fantastic story.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, if I had, you know, been bungee jumping or something, it would have been way cooler. I mean, I just woke up with a pain in my butt, you know. So that's what I got. So.
So what did you do next?
I was not able to go back to work after that, which was, you know, very depressing. I was a single parent of a middle school age child. And so basically it was, you know, had disability. So I was trying to get better. We did some therapy. I mean, so we went straight to painkillers and those sorts of things. And they just basically told me we had to wait and kind of and see what happened. But it was a lot of pain. And I was already on medication for bipolar disorder and suffered from depression, anxiety, those sorts of things. So this didn't help that at all, you know, on top of losing my livelihood and that kind of thing. So it was just a waiting game. I didn't know what was going to happen to my life. I had to, you know, it was a matter of trying to see if I could get my back healthy. And at the time, you know, this group of doctors weren't really pointing me towards getting it healthy. They were pointing me towards taking the pills to get rid of the pain. So I was not in pain. And they were giving me, they started me on roxycodones, and in addition to like muscle relaxers like somas and those sorts of things. What's the other one? I remember the generic is tizanidine, I think. But so lots of those. And then, of course, you know, the depression was amping up and the anxiety because of the lack of income. So they started ramping up the Xanax, and it turned into a big, you know, my life became sort of when my next pills were due kind of thing, you know.
Well, I noticed when you wrote us, you said you were on 8 milligrams or 8, what was it? 8 milligrams of Xanax. 8
milligrams of Xanax a day.
Yeah. And then 3 roxycodone, yep. And then 3 muscle relaxants and 600 to 800 milligrams of ibuprofen.
Yep.
Wow.
And plus sleeping pills, and I couldn't sleep. So, you know, there was sleeping pills, but then I was a nightmare because my daughter and I had to move into a little tiny 1-bedroom apartment, and we shared a bed. And I mean, she doesn't talk about it, but I remember, you know, there were times when with the sleeping pills, they would make me, because sometimes they could make people like sleepwalk or do stuff while you're sort of sleeping kind of, but you know, and I would get up and go and get like a bowl of cereal and come back in the bedroom and then like fall asleep into my food and that kind of thing. It was awful. And she'd be like in the bed with me, and it was Yeah, it was just very constipated because of all the pain medication. I was having to take like a lot of stool softeners just to, keep any semblance of regular. And I couldn't do anything. She had to do, cooking. So we were buying food, basically from the frozen food section that she could do simple stuff. And, or not, she actually got kind of good at it. But it was absolutely miserable. It was just miserable. I was existing, and that's all I was doing, really.
Sue, would it be fair to say that because of the pain that you were addicted to painkillers?
Yes, and it was something that at the time I didn't even want to think about because I felt that I needed them. So even if I had a dependency, I tried to rationalize it to myself. But oh heck yeah, I was I knew darn well when I was due for a pill because my body, I just start to. You get that craving, and it was if it wasn't readily handled, right there, I would just my anxiety would just go through the roof, and I would get sick. I would literally get, if for some reason I was separated from them or I hadn't brought them with me, if I went out of the house or something, it was I would literally get sick. I'd start to get just like see things and hallucinate, and it was horrible. It was real bad.
Where did you see your life going once you were hooked on these pharmaceutical drugs?
I didn't even know. To be perfectly honest, I tried not to think about it because it was too scary to think about. I didn't know. I couldn't work. I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't get out of bed. I was literally bedridden. I was, if I left the house, it was to go to the grocery store, and then my daughter had to do everything. And that was it was awful. I had no clue what was going to happen. And I was so worried about her because I hated what I had become, and I hated what I was showing her, this sort of invalid mother kind of thing, and it was awful. I had no idea what was going to happen.
That must have been tough for you because you said initially that you were a martial artist as well.
Yes, I was. I have a second-degree black belt in martial arts. My daughter has a first degree, and both of us, we started when she was 7. I wanted to do something, she and I, and yeah, we worked very hard at that. And I think I had just got my second degree right around when I became injured. So it was, it was real tough.
So how did you break through and get off these painkillers?
A friend of mine told me about Corey and mentioned the cannabis oil to me, the Rick Simpson oil. And I figured, I'll try anything once. I was using at the time, I kind of have always, used cannabis. I smoked it, for years. And I've always known that it helped me with the anxiety and that kind of thing. But, it's always been so vilified that it just never really, it didn't even occur to me I was using it for medicine. I just knew it made me feel better. It made me feel better. I don't know if that makes any sense. That my friend told me about Corey, and she said it was okay to Skype her. So that's exactly what I did. And I found her on Facebook as well. And when I told Corey everything was going on, at the time, I was more looking at it for hoping that it would help my back, help the nerve damage, and help the damage. And she had, and that's kind of how I was approaching it. So she had said that she had seen people who had damage with nerves and that kind of thing, at least find some pain relief if nothing else. So I figured I would try anything, and I had to actually. I think the first round of 5 milligrams that I got, I think the same friend that turned me on to Corey lent me the money to get it because I was having trouble putting food on the table, but it just became something I knew I wanted to do. So that's kind of how that came about.
When did you, or what happened when you first started taking the oil? Did you notice anything immediately, Sue?
Yes. Yeah.
She says, as a matter of fact.
Well, yeah. First of all, I the first time I took it, because I was, I got an advice to take a half a grain of rice size to start with, and decided right away that was on the outer edge of about how I could handle it because I became a little incoherent. But the first thing I noticed, I could sleep through the night, which I hadn't been able to do since I hurt myself. Because I was just, and the thing is that you would think with all of that all that medicine that I should be knocked out on my butt. But I had trouble sleeping through the night, and I noticed that I could sleep through the night, and I woke up in the morning with a fresh night's sleep, and it was just amazing. So that was really the first thing that I noticed. But the other thing too was that the pain, it moderated the pain. It made it. I was able to walk around. I was able to actually come out and sit on the couch and and hang out with my daughter. And that would be the second thing. So sleep first, and then I noticed that it was starting to alleviate the pain.
And I bet you the third thing was you had a smile on your face.
Yeah, I did. Well, for two reasons. First of all, just being happy about the pain, alleviation. That was just amazing to me. I hadn't expected that to happen quite so quickly, and it did, and it helped me, with the depression as well, because I just had been so down, and it was just to me, it just felt like a hopeless situation, and I felt like I had new hope. It really gave me some hope.
Well, I think the pain too makes you depressed as well.
Oh yeah, it's miserable. It takes over your life. It just, when you're in pain, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then it turned into 365 days a year, it just takes over your life. It takes over your moods. It takes over the way your whole outlook. And, the other thing is, at the time, after that first round of injections I got, the cortisone injections, they started doing them every 90 days. And we did them every 90 days. We actually did it for a couple of years. It was a couple of years at that point. And when I was on day 89, for example, literally one day I was laying on the floor in my doctor's waiting room because there was nowhere to sit, and I couldn't sit, and they couldn't take me in right away. I was laying on the floor and crying because it was 90 days and I needed the shot, just like in the movie with, and it was bad. And once I started, when I would get my injections after, they were for the first couple of weeks, really, probably for the first 2 or 3 to 4 weeks. Once I got the injections, was the most pain relief that I had. But then it would just start going downhill to where by day 89 it was horrible. And once I started with the oil, this is fast forwarding just a little bit, but just to make the point, once I went onto the oil and did one round of it, my injections, I was able to put further and further space in between them. I've done 2 rounds of the oil for my for healing purposes, and right now I'm actually at month 7, and I still haven't gotten them this year yet. That's the furthest away I've been able to. That's the furthest apart I've been able to get them. So I've gone from 90 days religiously to now I'm able to go right now at 7 months without injections.
Good for you, Sue. Sue,
Yeah.
When you say round of oil, are you talking 5 grams?
Yes, I was. That's all I was able to afford. So I did. But I did the first 5 grams. I used mainly to. Well, I wanted to try it, but then I used it to mainly get off of the medications, and that's what that was for. And then the second one, I got that because I wanted to continue the healing process.
So, do you take cannabis oil every day?
Not right now.
Not
no,
now.
I'm not doing it.
Not now.
No.
Okay.
I did it. Let's see. That was. Last spring, I think, was that second time I did it. No, I'm sorry. Last spring? Yeah, I think it was last spring. Was the second time. But when I had it, I was taking it twice a day. That half grain of rice twice a day, morning and night.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, what you're saying is you, at some level, no longer require cannabis to keep you going.
I don't. I would. I think actually, although it's funny you should mention that. I do want to try I want to use the CBD oil because I think that's going to be. I've been researching that one, and I think that's going to be. That might do some positive things as far as continuing the healing. I don't know if I have to look into it. I don't know if I necessarily need the higher THC or not. I was thinking the CBD might be better, but I do want to continue something to keep the process going. But I'm sort of in the middle of trying to decide what I want to do with that.
Well, it sounds like you've made leaps and bounds from where you were.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, I'm a completely different person. Completely different life. Yes, absolutely.
Different in what respect? I'm
happy. I go to the gym probably 5 days a week. I have when I go to the gym, it's usually the biggest thing I do that day, because I'm still not. I mean, the hardest thing for me still is actually sitting for periods of time, just because of where the damage is. But I'm able to go to the gym, and I'm able to. I started doing some yoga and some stretching and stuff, which my doctor had always recommended that I do. He thought that it would help me, but I was always in too much pain to be able to do it. I've been able to do that, which is once I got the pain under control, I was able to do other things to help me get better, to help heal. Plus the fact I'm able to, I can go to the grocery store and do all the things that I'm supposed to do. I can take care of my house. My daughter used to do all my cleaning. I can do all of the things that one does when one lives a life, and one is not completely incapacitated by pain and medication.
So you've gone from being bedridden to going to the gym 5 days a week.
Yes, ma'am, I have.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you know, one of the things that when you go to the gym, I was talking to a woman in Seattle the other day, and she has MS, and she used to be a runner. She used to run 6 to 7 miles 5-6 days a week, and she ended up with MS, walking with a cane. And when she goes to the gym, she uses one of these rollers that you can roll your thighs on and parts of your body. And because we hold emotions within our body, and then they become painful and they form knots. And she does that, and it helps her a lot. It hurts. There's no question.
Right.
I've done it at the gym, and it hurts. But it really is great for your back. And maybe that's something that you should you should think about.
They've got one at my gym, and where it really gets me is is it the IT band, I think, that goes from the outside of your hip down to the outside of your knee. And that, for me, probably my biggest secondary challenge with my back has always been my hips tightening up due to it's the concomitant damage, on either side of the injury. Mm-hmm. So my hips get very, very tight, and it's a constant sort of thing I have to work on to keep them loose. But they do have one of those foam rollers at the gym. And boy, I tell you, I'm teaching people around me new words sometimes when I use those things, but they really do make a difference. But boy, howdy, they don't feel good at all.
And another trick that I saw Daniel Vitalis use, I think he's in Michigan, he said that throughout history, people, when they went to the bathroom, always squatted down. And he says, try and squat down now. And most people, it's very difficult, because when we sit, it's not a natural position for human beings. And if you go to ancient cultures, you'll see people sitting around or squatting around the fire. And so I tried it, and man, I had just had incredible pain within my left knee that I injured in the gym. And I've been doing it the last week. It just takes a minute to do. Because like you, I have tight hips, and it impacts my back. But you would be surprised at how it loosens up your hips, and the pain in my left knee is starting to dissipate. And all it does is you just hold on to something, squat down, see how long you can hold it, and stand up, and that's it. And just do it every day.
See, that's worth a try for me. I'll tell you right now, my biggest challenge isn't going to be the squat. It's going to be the getting out of it.
Getting back up. That's what I was thinking, too. I can get down there, but I'm going to need somebody to assist me getting up there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, my knees are not what they used to be either. So, it's been, part of my, I've had surgery. Well, I've had scopes on both my knees, and then I had the shoulder surgery, and my hips have been just a bear ever since the back injury. So yeah, I can be a hot mess, but it's nowhere near what it used to be, for sure.
When you got off all your medications and you were taking the cannabis oil, and you stopped the cannabis oil, were you somewhat apprehensive that some of the discomfort would return? Yes,
I was. I was really worried about it. I wasn't, I guess there was part of me that was, but then there was part of me that figured, when I figured it was healing me, and I really didn't think whatever healing had happened was going to go away. I was, I guess my biggest concern was I wanted to continue the healing, and I was kind of bummed I didn't have any more at the time. The first round that I did, for getting off the medication, when I was getting off the medications, that was hard. And I wasn't, I've had a couple of people who are sort of in the same boat as me ask me about that, and they're just very intimidated about trying to get off of these things on their own without going into a rehab or something. it wasn't easy, but it was by the time I got through the first round of it, I was off the medicine, and I guess I really kind of wasn't worried about the badness coming back. I think it was just more that I wished I had more of it to continue instead of having to have a gap there.
Yeah, we've talked to a number of people over the course of the last several months who have been on painkillers and pharmaceutical drugs, Corey, and they are nasty things. Very difficult for people to get off. Sometimes people can get off within weeks. Others it takes months, and some people it would take up to a year. Depending on how much they're on.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Who was it? I think it was Jeff Waters in Colorado at one time was on 22 separate pharmaceutical drugs.
I think so, yes. Yeah, it was COPD.
COPD. Yeah. Pharmaceutical companies aren't going to like cannabis.
No, and I wished I wish we could just get it everywhere already and just let us heal ourselves. It's been a culture that that I've grown up in. I mean, I used to work in the medical profession as well, so it's been an education for me the last couple of years. It sort of led to other things. It led me looking into different ways to heal myself of other things that are not necessarily popping a pill. And I mean, I was very pleased that I was able to. It probably took me. It was probably about 8 weeks. It was 8 or 10 weeks, I think, that the oil lasted the first time. Is what it took me to get off of the medicines. And I was worried that I was going to run out of oil before I was off of them, but I was able to do it. The more research that I do, ever since going through all this and learning about the oils and using them and that kind of thing, the more research I do, it's just crazy how much is out there that is not a pill. But we've gotten as a culture, we've gotten away from using those things, the natural things, and we've gotten so accustomed to popping pills for things. It's a shame to me. It just, and down here in Florida, there is such a problem with opiate addiction, and turning into heroin addiction, and it's just flipping people over because they find, people are going for one thing or another to the doctor. They're getting put on. I guess it's not happening quite so quickly anymore, but a lot of the damage is already done. Where they're going for something, getting popped onto an opiate, and then their opiates go away, and they're addicted. So they start to buy them on the street, and then they find that the heroin is cheaper than the pills. So then they just start getting heroin. It's just awful. It's been awful. The rest of the country has got that issue too, but I know Florida has really had a problem with it.
Sue, has your doctor phoned you and said, "Where are you for your cortisone shot"? I just had actually an approval go through a couple of weeks ago, and they did call me, and they were like, "Okay, you ready to set up your shot?" And I said, "Well, I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'll give you a call back," kind of thing. So I haven't. And ironically, this particular doctor, I've been able to be open with him about the use of the oil and the use of cannabis in general. He's real good about it, and he's perfectly happy when he knows that kind of thing can help me. I have gone through a couple of different doctors where I have, just as a part of my history, have told them, I use cannabis for my anxiety and depression. I use the oil to get off of the medicine and to make my back better. And it's, the finger shaking and finger wagging in my face that I've gotten from them, and I had them put in my chart that I'm addicted to cannabis, and all kinds of stuff. It's just craziness. Just I've gone through several doctors trying to find ones that will be accepting of the fact that I found something that actually works for me. And I know it's and the one that I have now, my pain management guy, he'll say, I can't tell you to go do this because it's illegal. I'll say, yes, I understand that. And he'll say, okay, but other than that, it's working for you, huh? So, and he's ready to prescribe, whenever it becomes possible, so I'm kind of holding out for that and hoping that ends up being the next time I see him rather than for injections. You can give them the finger wave back.
Heck yeah. Well, the one I got's good. It's just the rest of them are just, geez, it's crazy. It's crazy. They just want to vilify you for, well, this is natural and makes me feel better, but it's not a drug, so you're bad, and I just, come on, guys.
No, it is crazy. How has the cannabis oil helped you with your bipolar and depression? It's
really leveled me out a lot. It's funny because I wasn't paying as much attention to all of that as I was my pain when I was doing what I was doing with the oil. But I was able to, my biggest consideration was getting off the Xanax because that stuff is evil and I didn't want to be on it anymore. That was probably harder than the opiates to get off of. That was really bad. But then I found that I was able to also get off of the antidepressants and of the mood stabilizers. I guess I kind of went from being, it was so unpredictable. Sometimes I'd be perfectly fine, but then if I get hit with a depression, it would just really bottom me out horribly. Or if I get hit with the anxiety, I'd be at work and I have to go in a corner and burst into tears just, for nothing. And it was tough to work like that sometimes. That being said, I wouldn't say that I don't, I have my days anymore, and it's sometimes some days are better than others, but I've gotten to the point where I don't feel like I need medications to regulate it. And I found that, I've just been able to sort of accept that, there's going to be some days when I'm just going to have a rough day, and that's okay because tomorrow's, a different one. And I wasn't able to do that, years ago. I wasn't able to get myself through it. And I felt like I needed help getting through it. And, that's become completely different. Just really a lot easier to handle daily living for me.
The phrase you used is I find is really interesting because you said the cannabis helped you get you through it, whereas previously you couldn't get through it. It was almost like you're stuck.
Right.
Yeah, but the cannabis oil helped you. Do you have any desire to get back on cannabis oil on a regular basis? You talked about CBD.
Yeah, I would. I really do want to. I want to. I feel like from what I've been reading and additional research and stuff, especially the CBD oil might be helpful to me in continuing the healing in the nerve damage that's been done. I'm not. I haven't quite figured out if that's the right direction or if I need to stay with a high THC. But yes, as a matter, I do. I want to get. I do want to. Figure out which one is going to be best for me. I have a few people I need to ask some questions, but whenever I do figure out what's best, I do want to get back into trying that again.
Well, you can try the high THC on weekends and have some fun.
Exactly, and I can also do that. That one's fine as long as I'm sleeping, and it'll help me sleep too. It's just I was thinking about that's one thing I was thinking about is doing that at night and then doing the CBD oil in the morning, so I wouldn't have to worry so much about how it was going to affect me and my productivity, as it were. So
it's interesting to talk to you because you don't sound like you were a depressive person. You sound very
upbeat,
upbeat, alive.
Yeah, that's and that's pretty much me. And I think I tended more towards the manic than the depressive. I would get my crashes. I think the manic was there was behaviors that were just not really good without getting too crazy about descriptions and stuff. But I didn't. That was something that I could if I looked all the way back into my early teen years going forward. I just kind of acted out a lot, just really a lot, and there was lack of control and there was lack of a sort of mental discipline, and there was just substance abuses and those sorts of things, and it was it's all stuff that I'm really happy to put behind me. I don't because normally it's the truth. I'm basically a happy person, and I am really upbeat. And when the depressions would hit, they would last sometimes days or a week. Sometimes I wouldn't want to open the blinds. And I knew that wasn't me. That wasn't the kind of person that I am. So that made it even worse, just knowing that, something was doing this to me. But I couldn't tell you how long it's been since I felt like that. If I have a bad day right now, it's basically it'll last. It'll be exactly that. It'll be a day, and the next morning it's reset, and the next morning is better. And that's something that I've not been able to experience, that I wasn't able to experience before I started with the oil.
Are you on any medications today? I don't mean...
No, I don't. There's nothing that I take regularly. I have backups. I do have muscle relaxers in the house, and I do have painkillers in the house. But I couldn't even tell you the last time I took a painkiller. And the muscle relaxers, I probably... there's every once in a while, if I overdo it, I just went to... We went on a trip over the weekend, this past weekend, and I basically spent just about 20 hours in the car back and forth. And I did take one when I got home because I was a little tweaked. But, recovery is, the next day is, much better. Whereas before, if I did something to my, to hurt my back more than it was, it would take it days or a week to get back on track again. I'm not taking anything at all for anything regularly or on a daily basis, not at all.
Sounds like you got your life back.
Yeah, it really does. My biggest goal for myself right now is trying to get physically in shape, because still my back, it's tough to do what I need to do to really burn the calories and stay active enough to lose weight. I'm going through menopause too. It's not helped me at all. Trying to stay moving enough to stay in a reasonable amount of shape. I lost a lot of endurance during the couple of years that I was really down, and I went from being fairly athletic and in reasonable shape to not so much. So it's been a very slow process, especially at my age, because I'm 54. So trying to build muscle and those sorts of things at this age it's more of a challenge than it was in my 20s. And I was always my whole life I've always been a gym rat. I've always been active, and not being able to do that was a real downer for me. But it's a little frustrating not to be able to jump back in and do stuff. But perseverance is sort of that's my word. That's my keyword to everything. I don't ever give up on anything. So I just keep my nose to the grindstone, and I figure I'll be okay as long as I keep working at it.
Sue, doing anything at our age is more difficult than in our 20s.
Yeah, I'm finding that. I'm really not liking it, but that's what I'm finding.
You got to like it, because there's no choice.
I don't choose to like it. I just choose to deal with it.
That's right. Yeah. Sue, a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks very much for this. It was great. You're a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it, Ian. Thank you. And thanks, Corey.
Thank you so much, Sue.
And that's it. Another edition of Cannabis Health Radio. Wherever you are in the world, thanks very much for listening.
You've been listening to the Cannabis Health Radio podcast. Visit our website, cannabishealthradio.com, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.